All right, good morning, everyone. Not good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Monday. All right, so we are going to do an afternoon yoga class. So before we get started, my name is Jessica Davis. I'm a fitness and sports instructor here at CFB Gagetown in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And like I said, we're going to do a yoga class today. It's going to be fairly low impact and gentle. We're going to focus on some core stabilization, stabilization throughout kind of the hips, through the spine, and into the shoulders as well. So you're looking at like a full trunk stabilization for this class as the focus. And I'm just going to read off our disclaimer before we get going. So in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering telefitness to Canadian Armed Force members by using social media platforms. The telefitness class is tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel, become accessible to all. Prior to participating in this session, and to make an informed decision on whether you should seek advice from a qualified exercise professional or a healthcare provider, please consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document simply by clicking on the links below. So the links for that questionnaire will be provided in the comments there on Facebook. So just make sure you check that out if you have not previously in the past, to make sure you're good to go for these classes. So by continuing with this telefitness class, you understand that there's a possibility of physical injury and you agree to do so voluntarily and at your own risk. You also assume all risk of injury and agree to release the Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services from any and all claims related to your participation in this telefitness class. All right. So, otherwise, all you'll need for this class is your yoga mat, and we will be spending some time in child's pose. So if you know that in child's pose you need some sort of prop, whether it's a block or a bolster, something like that, then you can grab pillows, blankets, textbooks as a block, whatever you need to help just prop yourself into comfort. If you're not able to just be in child's pose in sort of a natural position without props. Otherwise, we shouldn't need anything else. If you want water, then go grab it before we start, and you can use that as well. So we're going to start in child's pose, just go through some breathing to get us started, and then we will start into our trunk stabilization for the remainder. So get yourself all set up. Just have, if you do have any props, blankets, pillows, blocks, textbooks, bolsters, whatever, just have them on either side of your mat so that you can grab them when we need them. Okay, so let's start in child's pose. Bring your feet closer to the back of your mat, just so your toes touch, and bring your knees out wide so they're almost on either edge of your mat. Sink your hips back over your feet, extend your hands out in front, bring your forehead down to the mat. If your forehead doesn't reach the mat, then you can use a block or textbooks. If you have that bolster, you can put pillows, blankets, anything in here for your belly, chest, and forehead to rest on. So wherever you need to be to find a comfortable child's pose. And just start to breathe nice and deeply here in child's pose. may find that as you're breathing, if you feel your belly trying to expand with air and your legs are there stopping it, you can widen out your knees a little bit more and then come back down into child's pose and have that extra space for your belly to expand and contract. So as we're lying down, or not lying down, but in child's pose, feel the breath entering in through your mouth or nose, inhaling and expanding through your lungs, and then expanding through your diaphragm and your belly. Exhaling, releasing the air from your diaphragm, letting your belly fall, and then your chest. And then feeling the breath exit through your mouth or nose. So just continue with a few breaths on your own, really trying to lengthen out and relax your body a little bit deeper with each breath. As you're breathing, try to take an extra pause at the top and the bottom of each breath. So as you inhale, when you reach maximum capacity of air, just take a second to hold in that breath before you start exhaling again. And then as you fully exhale all of the air out, just hold the bottom of that breath for an extra moment. Take 3 more nice deep breaths on your own time. And then we'll all meet back with a little more of a natural breathing pattern. Make sure your hands are nice and active on the mat, and just slowly walk yourself up to a seated position, just nice and slow. You can keep your eyes closed if you would like, and just take a couple breaths seated. If you want to prop yourself up on a block rather than have pressure sinking into your knees, then you can do that as well. And just take a couple more deep breaths. We're going to come back into child's pose. You can bring your knees in a little bit this time if you would like. They don't have to be quite as wide. So stretch your hands out in front of you, forehead to the mat or to a block, whatever you have as your setup. And we're going to start some stabilization and some movement through our upper body. So with your hands reaching out as far as they can, start to lift them off the mat and feel all of those muscles in your shoulder and upper back turn on to lift your hands off of the mat. You will feel that your forehead is trying to stabilize you and support you now that you've lifted your hands off. Just make sure that you feel the stabilization, that you're bringing your shoulders down away from your ears and that you're supporting your neck and your head while the forehead is on the mat. So you're not dumping weight into your forehead and making your chin come towards the mat. Think about kind of tucking your chin in so that you have a nice long neck as you're in that position. So forehead on the mat, tucking the chin so that your neck is supported. Hands are lifted off of the mat. Set them back down on the mat and bring them out to 45 degrees. So your hands and arms are in a Y position. Then lift the hands off of the mat again. Set them back down. Move your hands completely out to the side so they're out in a T shape. Lift your hands off the mat. Set them back down. Move them back along the floor to a Y shape. Lift the hands. Set them back down. Move them up top so that you're all straight in an I position. Lift the hands and set them back down. And then just relax into your child's pose again for a couple breaths. So we're looking at getting I, moving our hands out to Y, and then moving our hands out to T. So we have 3 positions that we're lifting our hands in throughout this movement. So from child's pose again, let's continue. So get that right position with your forehead in on the mat, extending your neck so that it's not dumping weight into the mat. With your hands in the I position, lift the hands off the mat, drop them back, move them to Y, lift the hands, drop them back to T, lift and lower to Y, lift and lower to I, lift and lower, back out again, Y, lift, T, lift, Y, lift, I, lift. One more time. Y, lift, T, lift, Y, lift, and back to I, and lift. Good. Relax back into your child's pose for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, slowly walk your hands towards you back up into a seated position. Close your eyes if you'd like, and take a couple breaths. One more time, we're going to come down into our child's pose. So walking your hands back out in front, extending them all the way out, bringing your forehead back to the mat. Take a nice big inhale and exhale to let it out. Just slightly lift your head off the mat and bring your right hand and thread it underneath your left arm. So now your right shoulder is resting on the mat. Continue to keep your forehead pointed down so your face is looking down into the floor, and feel that stretch happening through your right shoulder and into the upper back. Lift your forehead off the mat, bring the right hand back out to meet the left. This time bring the left hand, thread it underneath the right side. Your palm is facing up with the left hand, and bring your forehead back down to the mat. Feeling a nice stretch through your left shoulder and upper back. lift your forehead off the mat. Bring the left hand back out and reach it forward to meet the right. And slowly walk yourself back up to your seated position. Find whatever is comfortable to sit for a couple more minutes. Just take a couple breaths, eyes open or closed and seated. And before we come into a tabletop position, we're going to warm up our wrists a little bit because we're going to be spending quite a bit of time in tabletop. So for our wrists, we're going to start by pretending like we are flicking water off of our fingers. So close your hands into a fist and then flick water off of your fingers and just continue flicking water nice and quickly. Keep going with that. Good. Nice and quick, flick, flick. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Give your wrists a roll out, shake them out if you want. Good, and the next one, palms are open. We're going to close the fingers with our thumbs out, open them back up, and then close our fingers with the thumbs in and open them back up. So let's do that nice and quickly. Open and close as fast as you can. Start to feel your forearms warming up, your wrists warming up, your fingers, your palms getting nice and active. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Shake that out. Your forearms are burning. Roll your wrists. Give them a nice slow roll to work that out of your forearms. Good. Okay, so now that we've got our wrists nice and warmed up, let's come into a tabletop position. So knees are under the hips and wrists are under the shoulders. Your back toes can be tucked under, or you can have the tops of the feet flat on the mat. You want your gaze to be looking just in front of your fingers so that your neck is continuing the nice straight line in your spine. And let's make sure that our hands are nice and active, so our fingertips are pressing into the mat as well as the outside edge of our palm all the way around. So you're not collapsing through your wrist or your palm. Now from here, you can start some cat and cow. So as you inhale, lift your head up, lift your tailbone up, and drop your belly towards the mat. As you exhale, push up through your shoulder blades to round your back, tuck your tailbone, and drop your head towards your chest. Inhale, rise through the head and the tailbone again, drop the belly. Exhale, push up through your hands, rounding the back. Round the tailbone, and drop the head. Inhale. Exhale. Keep going with your own breathing pattern. One more time. Exhale to cat. This time as you come into cat, start to create some lateral motion through your hands. So shifting the weight from one palm to the other. and bring the lift through your shoulders with you. And then start to create like a barrel roll through your spine, or pretend that your spine is a jump rope and start to trace the circle with your spine. Put some bend in your elbows to drop your belly towards the mat, and then lifting back up, pressing through one shoulder and then the other. You can make this as exaggerated as you would like. And let's switch directions with this now. So if you were moving towards the right side, move towards the left now, dropping your belly back up through the right shoulder, over to the left shoulder, rolling back around. Lots of movement through our spine in ways that it doesn't generally get used. You might hear a few pops and cracks. And then when you are ready, come back to a neutral spine in a nice flat tabletop position. We'll start a little bit of a flow through child's pose and tabletop. So inhale here at tabletop. Exhale, push through your hands, sink your hips back over your feet. Come to child's pose. Inhale, rise back up. All the way to that flat back again. Exhale, pushing back into child's pose. Inhale to rise. Exhale to sink. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. If you'd like, you can stay in child's pose for an extra breath or two. And then we'll start some more trunk stabilization. So inhale and rise back into tabletop. At any time, if your wrists are feeling like they need a rollout or a shake or just a little break, then feel free to come out of tabletop, either into child's pose or sit back and roll your wrists anytime you need to. So here in tabletop, our upper body for this exercise is going to stay exactly where it is with as little movement as possible. For our lower body, bring your knees together to touch, your calves to touch, your feet and toes to touch. So knees are right in the center line. Lift your right foot and knee off of the mat, just so that your knee comes to 90 degrees and your foot is straight up behind it. Without setting it down, bring the right knee back in beside the left, but it's just hovering, and then open the right knee out to the side. So from the front, it'll look like this, lifting back first, coming back through just to hover, and then open it up to the side, and you only want to lift the knee as high as your hip at any time. So kick to the back, and then kick to the side. Okay, so we're going to continue with that movement, nice and slow and controlled. So kick back, bring it in, kick to the side, bring it in. Keep going. 2, 3, 4, we're going to go to 10. This is 5, so we're halfway. Feel the left glute stabilizing you, nice and strong. This is 6, 7, 8, making sure that your hands are still nice and active and strong. 1 more. Good. Bring your knee back into the midline. We're going to go straight into the other side. So this time, left knee lifts, kicking the foot back, just bringing the knee to in line with the hip, and then out to the side, bringing the knee in line with the hip. Back and out. That's 1. 2. 3. Nice active hands. Fingertips are pressing in. 4. 6. 7. Keep breathing nice and steady. That was 8. 9. Last 1. Good. Bring both knees back to the mat in the midline. Sink back. You can either come into child's pose or sit back on your feet. Give your wrists a little roll. Shake them out. Before we come back into tabletop. This time we're going to do 1 arm at a time. Bring your knees back out to directly under your hips so that there is some space between your knees again. Hands are nice and active, pressing into the mat. Now we're going to do that same I, Y, T motion, but with 1 arm at a time. So bring your left hand in towards the middle just a little bit so that your thumb is kind of running through the midline of your body. And wrist is still directly under the shoulder. Now with the right hand, we're going to lift the right hand straight out in front of us. I'm going to move back so Instagram can see me better. Okay, so arm is straight out in front. You're going to give a little extra lift out in front, drop it back down in line with your shoulder, come out to a Y, so 45 degrees with your hand, lift, lower, to a T, lift, and lower, back to a Y, lift, and lower, I, lift, and lower. Keep going. Make sure your left hand, fingertips are pressing in, your hand is nice and active and supporting you. Your core is also supporting you here. Drawing your belly out into your spine. 1 more time, back up. Y and I. Good. Bring your right hand back down to the mat, touching your thumbs together. So the right thumb is now coming through the midline. And let's do it with the left side. So left arm is out above you. Lift the left hand, lower, come to Y. Lift, lower, come to T. Lift, lower, Y. Lift, lower, I. Lift, lower. Keep going. Actively pressing through your right fingertips. Core is engaged. Y, T, I. 1 more time there and back. Y, T, Y, and I. Good. Set the left hand back down. Sink back onto your feet to sit up and shake out your arms. Roll your wrists. Okay, for the next one, we're going to give our wrists a bit of a break. We're going to come down on forearms. So instead of tabletop position, we're just going to bring our forearms down to the mat. So our bum is stuck up in the air a little bit higher. Your gaze should be directly down in front of you so that your head is staying nice and in line with the rest of your spine. Now for this one, I'm going to move forward a little. For this one, let's bring both knees back into the midline, and your forearms on the mat can just make kind of that triangle shape. So forearms are supporting, knees are under the hips and in nice and close together. Lift the right foot and fully extend it back just to hip height and press your right heel into the wall. So pretend like you're pressing your right heel into the wall behind you. Now tuck your right knee in behind your left leg. So you're kind of creating a curtsy behind the left leg, and then press the right heel back out to fully extend. Tuck behind and press out. Make sure your gaze is directly down in front of you, and keep tucking and press. Tuck and press. That's 5. Going for 10 again. Make sure your core is supporting you, nothing else is moving but that right leg. 2 more. Last one. Good. Bring the right knee back down beside the left, and let's switch legs. So left foot lifts up, left heel presses back into the wall behind you, just at hip height. Cross the left knee behind the right knee and lift back up. Lower and lift. Lower and press. Going for 10. This is 5. Feel that nothing else is moving but that left leg. 2 more. And 10. Good. Lower the left leg back in. Sit up. Give your arms a little shake. Grab some water if you need it. Then we're going to head back into tabletop. So tabletop position, knees under the hips, hands under the shoulders. And in tabletop, we're going to move back to the upper body. So I'm going to show you from the front what this is going to look like. So knees are going to be close together again. Hands are shoulder width apart. One hand is going to extend in front. You're going to draw the elbow back, so you're bending through the right elbow until it comes to 90 degrees. So I've drawn it in 90 degrees, it's in line with the shoulder. And then from here, I'm going to sweep my entire arm down towards my hip. So bend the elbow to 90 degrees and then sweep the whole thing down towards the hip. So in tabletop, it'll look like this, straight out in front, bend the elbow to 90 degrees, and sweep the rest of the arm back towards my hip, and then fully extend the arm back up again. So it's kind of like a snow angel with a bent elbow at first. Okay, so we're going to go for 10 times on each side. Knees together, hands under the shoulders, extend the right arm out in front, bend through the elbow to 90 degrees, fully extend the rest of the arm, and sweep back up. Bend, extend, sweep back up. Nice and slow and controlled movements. Feel all of those muscles in your shoulder blade really working here to stabilize everything as you're moving through this. I've lost track, but that's probably about 4. We'll say this is 5. Sweep it up, bend, sweep it up, two more, last one. Good. Bring that right hand back down onto the mat, lifting the left hand this time. Left hand comes out in front. As we're doing this too, making sure that we're not swaying from side to side, that we're staying as stable as possible through the core. So left hand out, bend through the elbow to 90 degrees, sweep the rest of the arm back, and then fully extend in front again. 90-degree bend, sweep, all the way to the top. 90, and sweep. 4, 5, halfway there. Keeping your forearm parallel to the floor the entire time. Your entire arm should be parallel to the floor. 2 more. Last one. Good. Set the left hand back down. Sit back, either into child's pose or sit back on your feet. Give your arms a shake. Give your wrists a roll. Good. Grab some water if you'd like. And we've got one more to go for upper body and lower body. So this time, we're going to bring it into a kneeling plank. So rather than in tabletop, where hands are directly under the shoulders and knees are under the hips, we're going to walk our hands forward a little bit more, walk our knees back a little bit more, and then we are doing everything from here. So we're creating that line from our knees to our head. Our hands are still under our shoulders though. So from here, we're also going to tuck the back toes to provide some support there. Nice active hands, fingertips pressing into the mat. We're going to do a really slow and controlled mountain climber from our knees. So right side first. Right foot fully extends back, pressing the heel into the floor behind you. And then tuck the right knee so it comes up towards your elbow. So from the front, knees are in together. Fully extend the right knee. I'm in kneeling plank for this. Right knee comes up to right elbow, presses all the way back. Okay, here we go. Kneeling plank. And we're going for 10. Extend the right foot, right knee, right elbow, extend, in, extend, keep going. Remember to breathe. Three more. 2. And 1. Good. Set the right knee down. Walk it back for a second and roll out your wrists. We have a little bit more pressure now in the kneeling plank going into our wrists. Give them a roll and a shake. And then come on back up. Kneeling plank. And we're going to do the left side. Toes tuck under for extra support. Fully extend the back left leg, heel presses, left knee, left elbow, press, knee in and extend, in and extend. Feeling your core work here, supporting you through the full motion. 3 more. 2 and 3. Set that foot down, walk your hands back, either sink into child's pose or roll out your wrists from seated. Shake it out a little. 1 more to go, and then we'll go into some stretching and relaxation to finish off. All right, last one here. So from kneeling plank, we're going to do nice wide knees, nice wide hands. So knees are coming out wider than your hips. Hands are still under the shoulders. Okay? So nice wide knees, hands under the shoulders, and bring your hips forward into that kneeling plank. Toes are still tucked under for extra support. Now here, we're going to try and keep everything stable and solid, lifting one hand up towards your shoulder, set it back down. Other hand lift, set it back down. So from the front, I've got my knees out nice and wide for extra stabilization. Toes are tucked under, hands under the shoulders. Hips are forward in a kneeling plank. Nothing is moving, but my right hand lifts to my shoulder, set it back down. Left hand lifts to my shoulder, set it back down. Okay, so I'm not moving my weight from either side to try and lift that hand. My core is kicking in so that nothing else moves but that hand lifting up. Okay, this is our last 10 reps. Wide knees, here we go. Lift right, set it down, lift left. Right and left. Two more on each side. Right, left, right, and left. Good. Sink back, hips over your feet, nice wide knees still. Sink it back into child's pose. Hands extend, forehead comes to the mat or to a block. So now here in child's pose, walk your right hand over to the right edge of your mat. Walk your left hand over on top of your right hand. And then sink your hips back and to the left. Sink back into your left hip, creating a nice stretch through the left side of your body. And just breathe in here. Walk your hands back to center. Walk the left hand over to the left edge of your mat. Walk the right hand on top of the left and sink back into your right hip. Feeling a nice stretch through the right side of your body. Walk your hands back to center and walk your hands in towards you to sit up. Give your neck a little roll from side to side, bringing your chin to your chest. Good. If child's pose is really comfortable for you, then feel free to come down into child's pose for our last bit of relaxation. Otherwise, you can flip onto your back and come to lying down. So legs fully extend. Bring your hands to fully extend overhead. Give yourself a nice full body stretch. And then just let your arms and your legs sink back into the mat. Hands can be left overhead, or you can bring them back down by your sides. And just finish off as we started with those nice deep belly breaths, fully expanding first through the chest and then through the belly and the diaphragm. You can place one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest if you want to feel that happen. If you have the time this afternoon, then please feel free to just stay in this lying relaxation. There is no rush for you to get up or open your eyes or have any sort of movement if you want a little more stillness. If you do have to get up and start moving, then slowly roll yourself onto one side. Create a little pillow with your arm underneath of you. And when you're ready, use your top arm to push into the ground beside you. And slowly lift yourself back up into a seated position. Take a couple more deep breaths here, seated. Just allowing your body to get used to rising back up off the mat. And there we have it. So thank you so much for joining me for this Monday afternoon yoga. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday week and weekend, wherever your holidays fall through this week. Happy Canada Day, and I will see you guys again next week. Thanks, bye.